From crease to crease and corner to corner, Bettor Hockey Now is NHL fantasy and betting done better. Step into the dot for Bettor Hockey Now on the Bettor Sports Network.
Welcome in to another edition of Bettor Hockey Now on the Bettor Sports Network and Fantasy Alarm. I'm Adam Bernard, and with me, as always, are my line mates. To my right, if you're watching, Mr. Christopher Merez at FuzzyChris91 on Twitter. Below right me is Anthony Rivera at AntRivera86 on Twitter. I'm at Pucking Thoughts on Twitter. Always good to be here, and fellas, this is the last episode of Bettor Hockey Now before the puck drops on the season. So we made it. We're there. We did it.
Can you say that again?
It is the last episode before the season puck, before we drop the puck on the season for 2023-24.
Did someone wake up Green Day now that it's October? I was worried.
I mean, I hope so. It's October 2nd, so I mean, they've already missed a day. If Billy Joe is not up yet, then he's already missed a day.
It's the best time of year, honestly.
Music to our ears.
Good weather, lots of good sports. Halloween. Lots of people love Halloween. You're right. This is a good time of the year. Thanksgiving. Who doesn't love to stuff their face? Both American and Canadian Thanksgivings. Got both of them in the fall. It's great. But last week we talked about division and team futures. Where we think they're going to finish in the standings. Division champs, Stanley Cup champs, that stuff. Today we're going to go through awards futures. We'll also talk a little point totals and give out a prop or two each. For the upcoming season, a player prop. Before we dive into that, though, exciting news that we're going to be hosting the FSGA annual hockey draft. They have two leagues, a Champions League and an American League, and we'll be covering both of them for you here on the Bettor Sports Network and Fantasy Alarm on Monday, October 9th. The three of us will be bringing that to you, so we're very excited to that. There'll be a participant in each league from the show as well, so be fun to react live on the air to a draft that's going to mean something throughout the season. So good stuff there. But we got to talk betting today. We've done plenty of fantasy on Bettor Hockey Now. We're going to, like I said, the last two episodes before the season, we're going to do some betting talk. Let's see here. First award we're going to do. Well, let's the new guys. You want to start with the new guys first, the Calder candidates? Let's do that.
Sounds fair. Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, this is an award that, most people are going to be like, okay, fine. This is Connor Bedard's to lock up. I mean, he's already hyped. He's the next McDavid. We all heard all the, adjectives to describe how great this guy's going to be. But there are other candidates. What if Bedard gets hurt? What if he has a really bad start out of the gate and other guys have a strong start and he can't recover from that? So, Chris, a guy we had talked about last time, Devin Levi would probably be, even though he's not here at plus 1,200, the second best favorite. He was a guy that we had discussed would be probably our second best favorite.
That's who I'm going with. You're going to hear a lot about Devin Levi if you haven't already. Secret seems to be out of the bag for him a little bit now. I remember there was a time where you can almost get him undrafted. If you did your draft in like early June, that no longer exists. But here's the thing. I feel like if he doesn't even have to be elite. He has to be just very, very good. If he is very good, and let's say he backstops, let's say the hypothetical situation, he backstops the Buffalo Sabres to a division title, right? Like you can't not give it to him considering the position that he plays. And his age, like it's exceptionally hard to be a young player in the NHL. It's even harder to be a young goalie in the NHL and have success, right? Like there have been lots of great goalies to come into the NHL and, struggle to win. And we're talking about future Hall of Famers, right? I remember Marc-Andre Fleury came in the league, it didn't go well. Pittsburgh was a bad team, granted. Old enough to remember when Carey Price came into the league, didn't go well. So it is really hard for goalies to come in and have success. I think this is different for Levi. I think he got a couple of games in under his belt. He understands a little bit what the NHL is. He's going into this on a arguably pretty good team. They're not terrible. So a lot of good things can happen here. It's still Connor Bedard's trophy to lose. But if I expect him to be as good as he can be, then he has a legitimate chance of being able to win this, with the exception of, again, if Bedard scores 40 and 100 points, then just give him the thing and we can all move on. But I have a little bit of sprinkle on Devin Levi. I've invested in him in many different ways.
Let me throw out a little question for you. Who was the last goalie to win the Calder Trophy?
Last goalie?
The last goalie to take the Calder Trophy, the hint I will give it is 2009 was the last time a goalie has won the award. And that's why I make an argument for him.
Is it Braden Holtby?
Right air division. It's Steve Mason.
Wow.
So
I didn't have that on the roster.
Some people would point to that, and then the previous goaltender before that was Andrew Raycroft in 2004, and then before that was Yevgeny Nabokov in 2001. Now he went on to go be a hell of a goaltender, and then it was Marty Brodeur before him in '94. Point being is goalies don't get it often, so you might be like, why would that would be an argument against it? No, they're just usually goalies don't present themselves in a rookie season to a level where they can be considered. Voters love to vote for would love to vote for a goalie for a rookie of the year for a change of pace. So if Levi does even a nice percentage of everything, winning a division, just getting to the playoffs, and looks strong, and Buffalo keeps winning, again, it's still Bedard's to lose, but Levi might be neck and neck on him. And you agree too on Levi. I saw talked earlier before the show.
Yeah, Chris has done his best to campaign for Devin Levi this whole time we've been on Bettor Hockey Now, and he has succeeded. I am drinking the Kool-Aid for Devin Levi, and I say if they make the playoffs, because the Sabres, I think, were 1 point out of making the playoffs, and they really didn't have any great goalie in front of the net at all. So if Levi can come in and lead them to a playoff appearance, I think that's pretty good. And outside of Bedard getting the 40 goals, getting 100 points, I think that Levi has a really good chance of taking that Calder Trophy.
Now, a couple other names on that list, that are recognizable. Luke Hughes at plus 700. For me, if I had to pick somebody that's not Levi or Bedard, Fantilli's got kind of as much as a household name you're going to have as a rookie in the NHL. He's going to be playing on that top line in Columbus with Johnny Gaudreau. So again, he's going to have every opportunity. He's going to be up there and amongst the leaders in rookie scoring. So again, if Bedard takes a step back and Levi has a little bit of a we'll say a slump, the door could be open for Fantilli. Now there was another guy you were looking at, I believe, as well, Ant.
Yeah, I was looking at Matthew Nyes from Toronto. He's going to be on a line with John Tavares. A lot of talk about him possibly being there. I think it's good for, the plus 2,500. I think that's, good to sprinkle a little money that way for him, especially with the other names that are on here. I would love to think Logan Cooley would be one of those guys, but we're talking about Arizona. I don't know what line he's going to be on, because if he's not on the top line there, I think it's going to be very tough for him to really, generate with that group right now. They're up and coming. They're not there yet, but what we've seen from Logan Cooley in the preseason should get some people sprinkling some money on him.
And Brant Clark's going to have some hype on him too, but not enough to win a Rookie of the Year trophy. But nonetheless, he'll definitely, if he has the impact that everybody's expecting this year on the Kings blue line and contributing on the power play, he'll get a little buzz there too. So there's the Calder Trophy odds, and we're going to move on to the Patrice Bergeron Award, aka the Selke Trophy. Before it was the Patrice Bergeron Award, it was the Pavel Datsyuk Award. So you just keep going back. This award tends to be dominated by one guy, but that guy's not here anymore. So you might think it's a wide open field. I personally think it's a two-person field. I know Nico Hischier is the favorite at minus 350. I'm going to go with Andrei Kopitar, and here's why. And this is going to be more of a sentimental pick. He's 36 years old, should have won more if it wasn't for Patrice Bergeron. Barkov is the other guy that you can throw in as like a guy that's gotten screwed a bunch because of Bergeron. He's a little bit younger. He'll get his, I think. I think they give Kopitar one more. He's already got one on his shelf before Barkov takes over next year. So I'm going to say Kopitar at plus 1,200 as the sentimental favorite to get the Selke this year.
That's fair. I've gone with Barkov. I mean, for all the reasons, I would probably give it to Bergeron. Again, if he was still playing, but how kind of him to allow others to win it. That was the only way you were going to beat him, was in retirement. Barkov's a good pretty good two-way forward. And this award now can be given to guys who can rack up 85, 90 points, right? You're not looking at your traditional, third line center kind of guy who's going to just play well defensively, right? Like, you could give it to Sean Couturier or Philip Deneau for, the roles that they play, Yanni Gourde, Ryan O'Reilly, but those guys have a hard time winning now because they don't rack up the points as well. Barkov to me is, yes, Kachuk is there and all that, but he is still, he brings that stability on both ends of the ice. I totally agree with you, Anna, that, Ozzy Kopitar could easily win it because he is still good and they're still asking him to do a lot of things. I think the only thing that holds him back here is, he's not going to be asked to do as much of that now that Philip Deneau and Pierre-Luc Dubois are in town. Looking around the board as well, I don't know. I mean, Mitch Marner, cool, maybe. But Joel Eriksson, the same thing. I don't think of Elias Pettersson as really a Selke Award winner, not yet, right? I think he can become one, but I don't have him there. High. Yeah, he's up there. He's kind of found himself at the top of some draft boards, at the top of some awards. But to me, it's Barkov just for the offense that he brings, the game that he plays. I mean, he doesn't even take penalties, so he is the definition of the Selke Award, and I will gladly sprinkle a little bit for him at 1,200 and sleep well at night.
So Ant, I believe, is going to be taking the favorite here. No surprise with the Devils shirt on. He's not a homer, but I mean, listen, there's a reason why he shares a minus 350 for this award.
Yeah, I got to take the captain of the Devils here. Every year he has improved, although, I mean, health has been taking a toll on him in the beginning of his career, but last year, 31 goals, 49 assists, 80 points. I mean, he was a plus 33 from being a -1 in one season. And you got to look at who he's surrounded by. Timo Meier is going to be on his line. And Daily Faceoff has Alexander Holtz, but I'm pretty sure Dawson Mercer is going to be right beside him. And you put Meier and Mercer, those two guys, and you sandwich Nico Hischier in between there. He plays defense. I think this might be the time to bet a little bit on Nico Hischier there. He's a quiet player, but he is the captain of the Devils, and he leads by example. And I think this is a great opportunity for him, to take this award.
And other guys that, I mean, listen, just by the sheer definition of the trophy, Joel Eriksson should be a guy you consider more, but he's not in a flashy market. He doesn't have the name factor outside of, being a Wild fan. But yeah, he is a guy that absolutely embodies that. A little bit of a longer shot that, maybe would be worth throwing some money on too is Rupe Hintz at plus 3,000. It's going to be an important part of that. I mean, he probably doesn't get there, but, as an outside, dark horse candidate, certainly not, not something, for plus 3,000, it's worth, a couple bucks to throw on it, see what happens. So yeah, there is the Selke Trophy. Now we're going to move on to the Norris Trophy here. And we've got three different answers here. And listen, Cale Makar plus 190. I mean, everyone's gonna be like, oh, well, he's probably got it locked up. I mean, probably, but you don't know. Listen, I think, there's a lot of ways you could go with this. For me, it's Rasmus Dahlin. His point total has increased each of his first three full seasons, the first 3 full seasons he played. Sabres became an offensive juggernaut last year, so his point total is probably going to go up again now that they found their groove. So I think he goes up again. And, Makar and Fox already have awards. He's the new kid on the block. He's a former first overall pick. I think this year could really be his coming out party. And I think he's going to be in a fun offense. The Sabres, if they do what everybody thinks they're going to do, they're going to be the darlings of the league. They're going to be the young, fun bunch. And I think Dahlin's a big part of that. Plus 800. That's where I'm placing my money for the Calder, for the Norris Trophy.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm going to go a little bit further down. I'm going to go to Miro Heiskanen. I think he gets overlooked quite a bit because he plays in Dallas. and everything else. Miro Heiskanen is on kind of a little bit of an island on his own, meaning that he is by far the best defenseman on his team. I'm not taking anything away from the rest of the Dallas's defense core, but I mean Ryan Suter is not the guy that he was. Esa Lindell doesn't have the the offensive numbers. Yes, Jake Ottinger is a good goalie, but Miro Heiskanen, if I'm not mistaken, cracked 60 assists, and he plays in all situations. He's going to play more on the power play. He has an opportunity here to really kind of set the example for what a Norris Trophy winner should be. So a defenseman who can rack up points, but also play well in his zone. A lot of people were criticizing Erik Karlsson because of his defensive liabilities, but he also put up 100 points. So we'll give him, the benefit of doubt. He also played in San Jose where, they were looking at his plus minus, which again, as we've talked about, is not an effective way to measure any player's defensive value, neither real or in fantasy. So you should get rid of that stat completely. To me, I just feel like Kill McCarr has Devon Taves, Adam Fox has a, Condre Miller, Jacob Trouba, the whole 9 yards there. I'll throw in Owen Powers for Rasmus Dahlin, right? I mean, Quinn Hughes is kind of coming up. There's so many things that he doesn't do either, right? That I think he can grow into at some point. I just think Miro Heiskanen, from a complete defenseman standpoint, I think he is the best. So that's where I'm going to lay it out. He can go out and he may not get the most points, but I do think that he can exemplify exactly what that position is. Cale Makar can still easily win it because he is flashy, and yes, he can play in a bunch of situations and can rack up a ton of points, and he's a fluid skater. But I like the value on Miro Heiskanen, and I just don't. I think if he played in a different market that wasn't Dallas, you would probably hear a little bit more about him.
I don't disagree with that. And here's the thing with Heiskanen too is, as you alluded to, like as in terms of being an all-around defenseman, that's not just the offensive source, but also can handle his defensive end. He's probably the best on that list, at least in the top portion. And if Dallas goes, we talked about on the last episode where a few of us were bullish on Dallas to potentially win the Central and the West, maybe. He's going to be a big part of that. And if they're there, and I know the voting happens after the regular season, but if they're in that kind of position where they're a favorite or they're a team that people are looking at to maybe make a run, that certainly helps in terms of the voting, as long as he has that kind of campaign. Now, and you are also not in that top 3 that we were talking about. You've got a pick there that I like as well.
First off, I love both of your picks. I think they're great picks, and I do really think they have a huge chance to win the trophy. I'm going with Quinn Hughes with the value, plus 1,400. Now the newly crowned captain of the Vancouver Canucks. He holds that top line. He's improved every year. I wish he would there be an uptick in the goals for him. That's somewhere that he lacks, but he's always there for assists. The points are always high for him. At plus 1,400, I don't think that's a bad shot with Quinn Hughes. I think he takes another leap in being one of the best defensemen in the league.
And here's the other thing too. Karlsson won it last year on an extremely bad Sharks team. Now, I'm not saying the Canucks are going to be as bad as the Sharks were last year, but the Sharks were able to say, okay, Eric, just go out there and do your thing and just run your numbers up, because we're not going to really win a lot of games anyway, so go get it. Not to the same extent, but Vancouver can find themselves in that situation and really just let him run, especially down the stretch if he's got a chance, and maybe he can, push over and take the top if there's an injury up there, or he just has that outstanding of a season.
It is entirely possible. I think the things that just hold him back are the outlining. Like, yes, he can rack up assists, right? He finished with 69 of them last year, but he doesn't. To me, he doesn't shoot the puck. Right? I don't see him being a guy doesn't throw his weight around, doesn't really block a ton of shots either. He is a very not a one-trick pony, but you know what you're getting out of him, and he can eat. Like his vision is great. Like he can quarterback the top power play unit, and it can be very successful. I want to see just a little bit more from him to be able to really say, okay, this player exemplifies every part of what I'm looking for. And that's why I think like Miro, for me, that's how I went with Miro Heiskanen. Look, maybe Quinn Hughes takes this personally, right? Maybe he listens and he says, I'll show you, and then goes out and, pops 15 goals. He racks up another 69 assists, shoots the puck 200 times and blocks 100 shots. And, here I am eating my words.
Yeah, right now he ranges around 150 shots. He only improved 4 shots from last season.
Which is not bad, 150 shots for a defenseman. I just think that like the amount of ice time that he commands, like he could, I'm not expecting like the old Brent Burns numbers where you're talking 300 shots from a guy who plays on the back end. But, there are lots of defensemen who are in the 200 and plus shot range and who can pick up goals and still rack up assists and everything.
Yeah, he's right around 23 to 25 minutes on the ice, so he should be, shooting a lot more.
And I expect that number to go
defenseman.
up. I expect it to go up. Like that's how you see defensemen who also play a little bit of the penalty kill. Like they start to top those really elite numbers of time on ice. You're pushing the 26, 27 minutes a night. He can get there, maybe under the Tocchet regime, but. Man, I'm having a hard in that range when I'm looking at guys like Heiskanen, even guys like behind him like Roman Josi, who is he's getting older, but I mean he is the example. You talk about a defenseman on a possibly bad team that's going to do everything. I mean, Roman's right there.
Roman's right there. We expect a step back from the Bruins, and Charlie McAvoy is the clear number one there. So I mean that in a similar vein, but I know you're not a big fan of McAvoy. Carlson. I think because he's got Letang there, that just eats into like whatever. Like they're going to try and split that workload up a bit.
Yeah.
Dougie Hamilton at plus 2,500. If the Devils' offensive juggernaut that we expect them to be really takes off, and he's going to be a big part of that, both on the power play and getting heavy minutes, it's not crazy for Dougie Hamilton to maybe emerge on that side as well. So, I mean, once you get below him. I think Moritz Seider is a similar description to Miro Heiskanen in terms of being an all-around defenseman. I don't think he's Calder. I don't think he's Norris worthy yet, just because Detroit's not really there yet. But as they get better, he will move up that board as well.
What about Morrissey in Vancouver? Not Vancouver, in Winnipeg.
I don't like Winnipeg.
Very good defenseman, but I don't know if he's going to be in the running. I don't think that. To the lack of a better term, I don't think there's enough sex appeal there with a Josh Morrissey versus, like even like a Roman Josi, or if the Predators stink, you know that he's doing everything and that's going to be visible. I don't know if Morrissey, it's the same kind of deal with Morrissey.
Great real life player.
Correct.
Right? Like great player. I'd have no problem him being on my team. I just think the Jets are not going to be very fun. They're not going to be a very fun hockey team. And I don't think it's, like I just don't think they're gonna he still needs somebody around him to help. And he was very good last year. Like he legitimately broke out, right? Like he's got 76 points. He put the puck in the back of the net and everything, and he was very, very good. I might expect him to come back down to earth just a little bit here. I mean, his previous total high was 37. So is Josh Morrissey like really good now? Like, is he hit his prime ish and he's going to take off, or did he just have a really one good year? I don't know if I'm ready to bank on him yet.
I agree. I mean, listen, like you said, in terms of NHL defenseman, he's up there, but for what you need to get voted for the Norris, I don't think he's going to have that this year. I don't think he'll have that, but he's going to be important there. And don't forget too, with Winnipeg, if depending upon when they deal with Hellebuck, even though we don't like to, there are people that still use plus minus. His plus minus is going to go down once Hellebuck's out, if he's out early in the season. So, but most voters are probably educated enough to not use that as a baseline in their voting. Now we're on the blue line. Let's move back over to the crease. Let's talk a little Vezina Trophy odds here. And before, my first question to Chris here is the Devon Levi jersey you're getting in the mail. Is it white, blue, or the old black and red ones? And when's it going to arrive?
I want the black one with the saber head on it. So if there's any Buffalo Sabres fans who want to send me one, I will gladly accept it. You can put Levi on the back, and I will gladly wear it. Kid is from Montreal, so there's nothing wrong with that. You know, that's how I can get away with it, with being okay with it. To me, I just feel like if he wins the Rookie of the Year, then he's obviously cleaning the Vezina with it. Like these two go together hand in hand. So if he wins one, it's because he was so good that he could win the other one, and he could beat out the other goalies that are here because of his age, because of the team that he plays on. Like I expect Ilya Sorokin to be good. I expect Igor Shesterkin to be good. I also expect Jake Ottinger to be good. I'll throw Connor Hellebuck in there. It doesn't matter where he plays almost. Like I expect these guys to be good. I don't think many people expect Devin Levi to be this good. So if he does enough, if he does enough to win Rookie of the Year, he has to come and collect his Vezina. I don't like. I have a hard time. It's like when goalies win the Hart and the Vezina. Like of course, if you win one, the Hart, you're going to clean up the Vezina as well. Shout out to Carey Price, who's the last goalie to do it.
I was going to say, yeah.
And his predecessor before that was Jose Theodore. So, these things like this are to me, I think there's an opportunity there for him to win it. Now, the question is, are fans going to care enough about Buffalo to look past the names of these guys and say, okay, yeah, we'll give it to them. Because I've already given it, by the way, plus 5,000. So I will gladly take that. Like I'm not even sipping the Kool-Aid. Like I got a full manufacturing plant, and we are producing the Devin Levi Kool-Aid at an industrial level, and we are handing it out. It's basically lemonade right now on the side of a beach. Like that's what it is. And I mean, look at he's in conversation with like John Gibson is plus 5,000, and John Gibson's on probably the worst hockey team that's there. Kurova Meka as well. I can't believe Darcy Kemper is even on this list. It's kind of wild. Philip Grubauer, like he's completely forgotten because he's a rookie, and that's what the market expects. They expect him to not do well, but I'm not there yet.
I find it funny that Tristan Jarry's at plus 5,000 for a team that's he's got the same odds as a goalie that's expected to play for one of the three worst teams in the league this year. But I mean, how Grubauer is plus 5,000 over him. I mean, I don't know, but hey, I mean, so listen, that's for me, the Rookie of the Year and the Vezina. They got to win the division. He's got to have a year, like you said, like the Carey Price year, like the Jose. He's got to have something in that class to pull it off. So for me, it's not chalk, but it may as well be chalk, and it's a little bit of a homer pick, but I got to go with Shesterkin here.
Is it really a homer pick though? I mean, we're talking about Igor Shesterkin here. Even I would be sprinkling some money on that.
Here's the thing. For the Rangers to get back to a level where we think that they're more than just a playoff team and a team that can actually make a run, Shesterkin, and this is not pinning last year on him. They weren't playing defense in front of him. You could take a lot, there's a lot of good goalies where if you stop playing defense in front of them, they're going to start letting in a lot more goals. It's just how it works. And not to get into whole patterns of stuff, but if you look at 2019-20, in that 12-game sample size, 930 save percentage. 2020-21, 916 save percentage. Then he had his Vezina winning year, 935 save percentage. And then last year was a 916 save percentage. Now, you can look at goals against, but to me, that's more of a team stat than a goalie stat. If you follow that pattern, that means he's due for over a 930 save percentage this year. And we all know he's going to have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. I think at plus 600, you can listen, I understand Sorokin is the best goalie in the league. You can make that argument a couple of different ways. I would say it's Sorokin. Islanders just aren't going to win enough. So for Sorokin to really have that chance, he's either got to carry the Islanders into the playoffs, or he has to do something like Linus Ullmark did last year to really get the consideration, even though he is the favorite. So to me, Shesterkin is probably, because of that reasoning, the number 2 guy is the guy I would go with. That happens to be Igor Shesterkin at plus 600. That's my pick for the Vezina.
Also, you're not going to want to see as much as Jonathan Quick in net.
Correct.
So he's going to be playing a lot more than he would when Halak was his backup. So, Shesterkin's going to get a lot of playing time.
I think that might hurt him more than anything. He's going to be on the ice a ton. Professional athletes now are delicate little flowers, right? They work really hard to become the players that they are. But we know how important it is to rest bodies. We know what happens to goalies in their lower bodies and their hip flexors and their knee ligaments and everything. And I just think because the Rangers don't really have anybody behind Igor, that he's going to be out there quite a bit. As good as he will be, maybe those numbers suffer a little bit. I think ideally you'd want him to play about 55 games. That would sit where he needs to be. I have a feeling he's going to play over that. He's probably going to play 60. Yeah, he's probably it would not shock me if he plays 62, 65 games, just because you do not want to give Jonathan Quick as many minutes as humanly possible. Every time Quick takes the ice, just assume it's an L. And then you'll be fine. And if he gives you a win or a tie, you say, okay, well, we got there. But that was my hesitation for Igor.
Jonathan Quick should see the ice on back-to-backs and, on the occasional Arizona, Chicago, Columbus game. In a perfect world, trying to be both conscious of how much Igor should play versus trying to keep his workload somewhat respectable and fresh for the playoffs. It's 60 to 65 games, I think, is that number for Shesterkin. I think once you get north to 65, you're playing way too much, I think, in this day and age. He's going to have to play more. Now, listen, maybe Benoit Allaire has got something up his sleeve. He sees a little hitch in Quick's game or has something that he can fix and say, hey, I can get another year or two out of this guy. Quick is going to be motivated. Hey, he doesn't want his career to go out as being a guy who wasn't even dressed for Vegas Golden Knights revolving door crease. And he's a Connecticut native, grew up a Ranger fan. There are elements there to maybe think that we can get one serviceable year, 12 to 15 starts out of him. But we'll see. I'm hoping that it's not more than that. And I just hope we're having a debate of Shesterkin versus somebody else for a Vezina because that means he had a really good season and he stayed healthy the whole season. So that's all I'm really hoping for, is just a legitimate debate for him to be the winner.
You also got to look at the defense in front of him. Miller and Fox, I think that's a top line defense. I don't know how you feel about Lindgren with Trouba. And then the Gustafsson Schneider line. I don't know how you feel about the third line pairing there.
I mean, we'll see. The bottom pairing at this point, they get what they get out of Gustafsson and Schneider. They're going to play their limited. They'll get their opportunities, but they're going to be rolling those top 4 a lot. Fox and Lindgren, I thought was a good pairing last year. Miller, Trouba, but maybe they're trying to, maybe they're going to do something else. Let's see how that works out. I just want them to be able to settle. I'm not a guy who likes to put lines in a blender for the sake of putting them in the blender or a pairing, unless you're on a 10-game losing streak and things are going wrong. For me, a defensive pairing, once you figure out what the defensive pairings are in October, November, I want those to be the health obviously being factored in. Those should be the same pairings in March. That's how defenses build chemistry. That's how so we'll see how it goes there. But again, I think there'll be a little bit more of a conscious effort to play a little harder in their back end. I don't think the Rangers will necessarily become a defensive team, but it can't be much worse back there, so it should be better this year. Now, Ant, you got a pick here that may be a little bit of a wishful thinking pick for you. Even though it's voted on by the regular season, you're hoping to see this guy maybe.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Connor Hellebuyck here. I know Winnipeg is on the way down, but it's not going to be his fault. That's for sure. The wishful thinking comes with the fact that he's on a contract year. He's going to probably play his best to get that money. And eventually he's going to probably be traded to a really good team that's in the playoff hunt. So we're going to really see what he's made of. And I think at plus 700, I think that's a good pick for me to go with. And Hellebuyck, he won 37 games last season, helped Winnipeg barely get into the playoffs. And then they just got, steamrolled from there on out. But I think Hellebuck has a really good opportunity to win it this season.
I could absolutely see that, because if he plays as well as he did for Winnipeg last year, he'll have the performance there. Then he gets traded, hopefully, by the deadline. He goes somewhere, wherever he gets traded to. If he continues to play top-notch hockey and starts racking up those wins, all of a sudden he becomes a darling, and that's what they want to vote for, especially if you don't have like a standout Sorokin, Shesterkin, one of those two that are absolutely just running away with it. Now it kind of opens the door a little.
And we're talking about a goalie that could command top flight money, be the highest paid goalie in the sport. So, I mean, it would only help Connor to win that, to win the Vezina.
Name that I want to mention here that I'm surprised none of us took was Jake Attinger plus 1,200. Is that a case because it's going to be very much a team effort in Dallas, and maybe he gets lost in that shuffle a little bit? I mean, if we're talking about a Vezina winner's got to be somebody that's on a good team that has an impact and all that stuff. He checks all those boxes if it's not one of the New York goalies.
I don't think it was anything. It's nothing personal to him. I think he can do very well and succeed. It would shock me if he's one of the three finalists. I think for me, it's more of Dallas in general as a team. Yes, they have some young players in that lineup, but they also have the Joe Pavelskis who are getting a little bit older. The Jamie Benns, the Tyler Seguins, right? As good as Miro Heiskanen is, I mean the rest of that blue line is kind of mid. So I don't know what. There's an opportunity for them to do well. I think the West, specifically their division, it's okay. So I think that they'll be good and Dallas makes the playoffs, but I don't know if it's going to be because of Jake Ottinger. I think he just has to be a good goalie and Dallas will make the playoffs. And then what happens when you get there is whatever happens when he gets there. But I'm not looking at him going, is it great value at 1,200? Not really. I don't think it's great. At that range, I'd go with Philip Gustafsson if I wanted something in the middle. I think Philip Gustafsson, right? Better team.
I think I'm right there with Chris. It's not the talent of Jake, it's the value. I think honestly, maybe I'm reaching. I rather take the 2,500 on Georgiev in Colorado, and also the plus 5,000 on Tristan Jarry. I know that that's a reach, but I think I might take that as well over the 1,200 for Jake.
Fair enough, certainly, and I agree, because they're a product of everything versus him maybe having to carrying them through. So yeah, that definitely factors in as well. So we've talked rookies, we've talked defensemen, we've talked goaltenders. It's time to move up to the forwards now. And the first thing we're going to talk about is the Rocket Richard. And this one's easy, folks. Who do you think is going to lead the league in scoring? Connor McDavid at plus 220. He was the league leader last year with 64 goals. Then you got Austin Matthews, Leon Draisaitl, David Pastrnak, Mikko Rantanen, and Kirill the Throw Kaprizov, and Jason Robertson. That's probably where you're upper tier of, if it's McDavid, then everybody else. And then, Thompson could certainly jump into that class. We'll see, but he's got a couple of shooters on his line, so he might be more of a point total guy, an Art Ross guy. Jack Hughes certainly could have a ton of points this year in that Jersey top six. Same for McKinnon and Kachuk. And hey, Alex Ovechkin at plus 2,500 for the Rocket Richard. For a guy that they're going to just keep feeding the puck, certainly not a bad way to go. So let's start with you. And you're going chalk here. You're going McDavid, and there's certainly nothing wrong with that, because all that guy does scores goals.
Yeah, every year gets better and better. 20 more goals than he had the year before. I was thinking about Austin Matthews as well, because I don't know if there may be Draisaitl taking some goals away from McDavid, but it's Connor McDavid that we're talking about here. So I have to. I could not. But Austin Matthews at plus 550 isn't bad. He just signed the contract. He'll be running the ship there in Toronto. And my heart of hearts, a little plus 1,600 on Jack Hughes is looking kind of nice to sprinkle some dough on.
It's tough to listen. Again, it's tough to not go with McDavid. I mean, that's one of those times where betting on chalk is probably going to get you some money. I mean, even with Draisaitl there, he still leads the league in scoring.
He just gets better and better every year. Like what? Like it's like, is there a floor? No, there is no floor for Connor McDavid. It just continues to score more, get more points. I don't know what much more you can do. All he needs is a Stanley Cup, and then we're good.
I mean, if his floor, you talk about 50 goal scorers, that's probably McDavid's floor right now in his career is 50 goals, which is crazy to say, but that would be his bottom, short of an injury, of course.
That's literally, to me, I think the only way he does it when it was like he breaks his wrist on something he shouldn't have, and then he's out for like 2-3 months, and then he doesn't get it. I went with Jason Robertson for all the things I said about Dallas. Jason Robertson can score goals. He is a little bit streaky at times, so sometimes he just pops. I feel like the net is like a goal in soccer, right? It's so big for him, he can just funnel it in. And then there are times where he gets real cold, and it's tough. But the one thing that doesn't waver for him is that he is a shooting machine. Like, he loves to shoot the puck. And Dallas doesn't have a ton of guys who can shoot the puck like as he does. We know that Joe Pavelski is the tip expert. We know he can do that. I'm looking at the rest of this Dallas team, right? And I mean, I'm not looking at Jamie Benn to repeat what he did. I know Matt Duchene comes in, but he's a little bit older. Evgeny Dadonov is still in the NHL, so that's kind of what's going on here. I think he is the pure goal scorer, and he's playing with the best centerman in my opinion on that team in Rupe Hintz. So those two can just kind of hang out, go have fun. Hintz can kind of give Robertson the puck, and he can set up and he can fire it into the net. He plays the off wing as well on the power play on the right side, because I believe he's a left-handed shot. So to me, he can get there. And there's some players in front of him, right, that can do some damage. I think, Mikko Rantanen is one of them, and Kirill Kaprizov. I think the only thing holding Kirill back is the skill around him. I don't think he has that elite player to help him out, right? I'm not taking anything away from Matt Zuccarello, but he's not elite. Neither is Joel Eriksson Ek. David Pasternak's going to come back down to earth because he's going to realize that Pavel Zacha is not Patrice Bergeron. And I don't know what I'm getting out of Austin Matthews. I know he scored 60, and then last year didn't really kind of work out. I know he was dealing with a wrist injury. I don't know. Like, I feel like the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to be a better structured team, and there are more players on that team who can help score goals. Toronto is already one of the better teams in the league in scoring, and I feel like what they're trying to do now is kind of spread that scoring out through 3 lines. So I don't like, he's going to get his goals and he's going to score, and I think he can score 45-50 without breaking a sweat. But I think we could see Jason Robertson hit that level that Mikko Rantanen hit last year, playing with McKinnon, which is the 60 plus goals. It's going to take over 60 goals to win this award, because I'm assuming Connor McDavid is just going to get 60 because he decided this, 2 weeks before the season starts. Like, right now he's sitting at home. He's like, I'm going to score 70, like something of that, just because he can, because that's how great he is. He decided he wanted to score more goals, and he did it.
Yeah, he's kind of that, if he decides I'm going to wake up and score a goal today, like, it's going to happen. You don't try and stop it. Just, let it happen and get it over with quickly, The
man is dedicated to a whole other level of greatness. And I don't know, man. It's like everything he wants to do, and he just does it. Not even like second best. He's just the best at it. He's like, hey, I'm going to hit all 4 targets in the All-Star game because I decided that's what I wanted to do, because I knew I was going to win the fastest skater. So I just want to dominate something else just for fun.
Now, speaking of McDavid, it is fantasy draft season, folks. So just a friendly reminder that no matter what the league format, if you have Connor McDavid if you have the first overall pick, take Connor McDavid within the first 10 seconds of the draft starting. Like, don't be that guy that milks. Like, this is not other sports where, like, oh, am I going to go running back or it's Connor McDavid. That is the first overall pick.
If you don't take him, please send us all a message. I want a full essay with thesis as to why you didn't, so we can just put an F on it immediately. I don't think I'll get past the 3rd line because there's no explanation for it.
Now, speaking of a consensus number 1 ranking, if you head over to fantasyalarm.com right now, you can get the fantasy NHL draft guide that one of these lovely gentlemen below me here, Mr. Christopher Murray, was a part of, along with Andrew Dewhurst. They've got all the rankings there. And so I had a draft over the weekend, and I had that open right next to my draft panel for any time I had to make a decision between two guys. I just consult the rankings. So thank you, Chris.
breaking, Connor McDavid is first on it. I know.
Yeah, you're not supposed to say those things. You want to get the people to sign up for the subscriptions.
I want to get them hooked in with that one. That's the one, Yeah,
there you go. So, so that is, you had mentioned Mikko Rantanen, the season he had last year of Robertson getting to that level this year. That's who I got. And I know, Landeskog is going to be back in the mix this year. But Rantanen had 55 last year. I don't think that Pastrnak is going to get over 60 again. So that's one competitor out of his way. And again, we're saying this, assuming that McDavid misses some time, because that's really the only way the door is left open. If the door is left open, and yes, you could say, well, if McDavid's not there, that should make Draisaitl's number go up. And yes, that's another way you could go with it. I just think with that Colorado top six, they're going to be relying heavily on McKinnon and Rantanen. It looks like Drouin is going to be the left wing on that line. It could be Arturi Lehkonen. We'll see, how that shakes out. Maybe they go Landeskog. Who the heck knows? But nonetheless, I like Rantanen. And just as a sidebar there, I know we're going to get to props later, but his goal total's at 44.5, and it's minus 115. Give me the over on that all day. We'll talk a little player props later, though. But what are your thoughts on Rantanen in Colorado?
He gets two passers. He gets McKinnon and Drouin if he sticks on that line to pass him the puck. Oh, my God. I think he can better his total. I think he can better at 55. Like, the one thing I learned from watching Jonathan Drouin play in Montreal is that the man could be on a breakaway and he would still try to pass it. So he is a pass-first mentality player at all given times. Good news is he's going to a team that has players who can finish those passes. So Drouin might finish with like 7 goals, but like 50 assists, and that wouldn't shock me one bit. So I like the advantage that Drouin brings to, Rantanen at that point. Ryan Johansson is in the exact same boat. I don't think he knows how to shoot the puck either. So Colorado's got a good mix of guys who can shoot the puck and a good mix of players who just facilitate it around the ice. Arturi Lehkonen goes to the net. Love the man. Valeri Nichushkin is apparently still part of the Colorado Avalanche, and he can shoot as well. So Colorado's power play should be fine, I guess. I love it. I love Mikko Rantanen to go out there. I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves. I think he is what Leon Draisaitl is to Connor McDavid. Like, Mikko Rantanen is elite, and I think he gets lost because he plays behind Nathan McKinnon. But like, Mikko Rantanen is an elite shooter in the NHL, and he's very good at what he does, and he just doesn't get the love. Every time I play DFS, somebody's like, oh, I'll take McKinnon. And I'm like, okay, but what, why are you not stacking him with Rantanen? And he's always the guy who's forgotten. And I feel for him a little bit because the man's good.
He's a guy that falls in drafts where if I'm towards the end of that first round and he's still there, in that 8 after window, unless, it's him or Brady Tkachuk at that point for me. And if it's not a banger league, then I'm taking Rantanen for sure. So, I like all of our picks here. I think, McDavid is the way to go. And then, Robertson or Rantanen, certainly a couple of nice alternates there. And we've talked Alex Ovechkin in the past, plus 2,500. Just to look at now, listen, he's led the league in scoring 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9 times. Last time was in 2019-20 with 48 goals. He had 52 years ago, 42 last season. If Washington if they find themselves in a situation where they're realistically not going to be in the playoffs, down the stretch, Ovechkin's going to still get heavy minutes every night, and they're just going to keep feeding him the puck. So if he is within striking distance, I mean, yes, I know he's older, so does he have it in him to break 50 again is the question. If it's going to happen, it's going to be this year. It's not going to be next year. It's not going to be the year after that. So this is probably the last year that we can really see Ovi maybe break that 50 barrier and really have a chance at a Rocket Richard.
Yeah, they're really going to try to, get him the puck as much as possible, try to get him to break that record as quickly as possible. So, the plus 2,500, I would take on Ovechkin. I don't think that I don't think that he scores more than McDavid, but he might get over to the 50 goals. And like you said, it's going to be this year, if anything.
2 minutes on the power play, let him set up in his office and just let him clap. I don't know. Like, it's not hard. And his shot's not getting worse. He was never like, his foot speed was good, but the one thing that sets Ovechkin apart from his counterparts is like, that's a big boy. And he can fly down the ice with some of the best. Maybe his step is not what it was, but he's still getting down the ice, and he's still like, he can still bang people around. Like, he's still fine as long as his health keeps up. He missed a couple of games last year, but he still played 73. He's played over like 70 games most of his career anyways. He has been very, very durable despite the way that he plays. So I don't think it's out of the question to score 50. I think it might be, like, again, it's tougher, but I think it's a question of how healthy Nick Backstrom is. I think that plays a part in it as well. He needs somebody to facilitate him the puck, and that's fine. Same thing with Evgeny Kuznetsov. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, the odds would have to be pretty high over 50 goals for me to take it, just because I think it might be a little bit more difficult for him now that he is slowly aging. And Father Time always wins that battle. He's 38 though, and he's still doing what he does, which is incredible.
What I would like to see, and I'm surprised nobody's done this yet, like, and who knows now with the digital boards and stuff like that, but, and plus the amount of money you get for board advertisement, I don't know if they would give this up. They should like draw like up near the sideboards, like have like Alexander Ovechkin's office, like have like a little desk with like a picture of his kids and like make it look like an office over there. For his last game, they absolutely need to do something like that on all four like half walls on each side of the rink. I think that would be great. Now, he has won the Hart Trophy 3 times. It's now time for us to get to the Hart Trophy discussion. And oh, what a surprise. Connor McDavid at minus 105. That's how much of a favorite he is. He's not even plus odds to win the Hart. He is at minus 105. Other names on that list, Nathan McKinnon at plus 900, Leon Draisaitl at plus 1,000, Matthew Tkachuk at plus 1,200, and then Austin Matthews at plus 1,600. Can't see Kaprizov really in the mix there. Hughes certainly at plus 1,800 is not a bad way to go either. But for me, as I look at this right here, I'm going with Matthew Tkachuk. Last year was, he was really put out there. It was not to say his coming out party, but he started to become as much of a household name as a hockey player is going to become in the United States. He's the guy that they push. He's going to be promoted a lot. Florida's a good team. 104 points last year, 109 points this year. As long as Florida's competitive, makes the playoffs, and Tkachuk is still very much the straw that stirs the drink and makes a name for himself, just keep doing what he's doing. I think he could maybe steal the Hart Trophy if he really just has a top-notch season.
That's fair. I went with the chalk here. I mean, I'm not going to bet against McDavid too many times here. I didn't take him to win the scoring title, so I figured I got to get a piece of him somewhere. I'll take it where I know he's going to get it. He is exactly 150 points away from 1,000 in his career. By that time, he'll probably be 27. So he'll be 27 years old with 1,000 points to his name. I know he doesn't, like, he wants to downplay that milestones are not important and all this and all that jazz, but I mean, the type of competitor that he is, I know that he knows and that he wants to get there and that he wants to do it. I don't even think 153 is like his height that he can get to. I think he can get to 160. I think he can be the first player to flirt as close as possible with a 2-point per game average. Like, 1 point is a lot, right? In the modern NHL, I think he can be the guy who flirts with close to 2 points a game.
No, he does. McDavid doesn't have a counterpart the way like Crosby and Ovechkin do. Ovechkin's a 3-time Hart winner we just mentioned, and McDavid's a 3-time Hart winner, and McDavid's quite a bit younger than Ovechkin. So it's just crazy to think that, and that it's not even like he's starting to slow down. It's just, how many Harts is he going to get? Like, is he going to have? He's going to have. If he got a ring for each one, he's definitely going on to a second hand at some point.
I truly believe that he can hit 160 plus points. I don't believe that to be, looking at Edmonton, looking at the division that they play in to start with. There's some teams in there that are, let's say Vancouver doesn't really progress, and let's say Calgary is still, not who they are. I mean, he gets to beat up on San Jose in Anaheim as much as possible. Every once in a while, he'll cross over to the Central and beat up on Arizona and, Jordan Binnington, Chicago. Yeah. Then he'll come east a couple of times. He'll get, the Philadelphia Flyers, the Columbus Blue Jackets. I can say this: the only team he doesn't have a ton of success against is Montreal, so maybe he'll skip that road trip and say it's not worth it. But everybody else, he is a force to be reckoned with. So, like, imagine if he gets another, I don't know, let's say he betters 153. Like, you can't take his heart away. Like, it's, you just can't do it. Imagine bettering the totals that got you the one trophy in the first place. So I'll take honestly, 105. That's as close as you can get to it, right? Like, I thought that number would be minus 115, minus 120, just considering how good he is. 105, I'm like, all right, it's almost even money. I'll do it.
You want to know how I know Santa Claus is a hockey fan? Because Bedard versus McDavid is on December 12th, the first one, and then January 9th. So right before he gets real busy prepping for all of his deliveries, and then just right after he gets home and is settled in and has done all of his inventorying and he can finally put a feet up, he's going to get both. Listen, it's not a coincidence. Somebody getting...
Are they on ESPN too? Like, are they on the big channel as well? Like, Chicago's got a whole bunch of games on the big channel for no reason. But, oh yeah, by the way, Connor versus Connor is probably a selling point.
I would imagine. I don't have the TV schedule up in front of me, but I would imagine, yes, at least one of those is going to. Let's see. So one's doesn't even.
I'm assuming Disney would want that to be up there, right? The marketing would kind of make sense. Connor versus Connor, that'd be kind of fun to watch.
So December 12th is a Tuesday for sure. That'll be a TNT game in the States. And then let's go to January 9th. That is also a Tuesday. Big surprise. So yeah, that's going to be a. I'm surprised.
Santa Claus takes Tuesdays off. That's what I've understood from this. The shop is closed on a Tuesday.
If you take nothing else away from this week's Bettor Hockey Now, just take all that away. That we've cracked Santa's holiday schedule and what he likes to do.
I also want that game to finish in overtime, 3-on-3. That's all I want to see. I don't care for the rest of it. I want to see those two. I want to see McDavid, Draisaitl, whoever plays here. You know what? Put another forward out there just for the fun of it, because it doesn't matter. And then I want to see Connor Bedard, I guess Seth Jones, and like whoever else is alive in Chicago. And that's it. And then I just want to watch, just don't even let them change. Just McDavid and Bedard up the ice. I was watching Bedard. They were questioning. He was like, "Oh, you didn't look over to bench to change." He's like, "I love to play hockey." And I'm like, "Yeah, kid, I do too." Like, stay out there, do your thing, just have some fun. That's all I want to watch. I want to watch those two just skate up and down the ice like a track meet and watch all their teammates just look at them and say, "Man, I wish I could do that."
If we're not going to get that kind of ending, then what I want instead is one of these anything you can do, I can do better games where like McDavid has like 4 goals and 3 assists and Bedard's got like 3 and 5 or something. It's just like something insane. I mean, I know those are high point totals, but you know what I mean.
Both those teams have goalies who can help us get to that level. Jack Campbell versus whoever for Chicago. Those two goalies that night, just tell them this is one of those games where they're going to have to tough out 60 minutes and it's not going to be pretty.
What, you're not drafting Pete Mrazek or Arvid Soderblom in any of your fantasy drafts this year?
You're right. I am not drafting Peter Mrazek. I'm surprised his ligaments for his lower body are still intact at this exact point.
So we got now another matchup. An Austin Matthews versus Bedard matchup also will be entertaining. When the Blackhawks and the Leafs get together, and you got you like Matthews here, huh?
Yeah, I like Matthews for the value. Obviously, McDavid is probably the way to go. I like Kachuk too, but Austin Matthews at plus 1,600. If this was last year or the year before, he would be right next to Connor McDavid at the top of that list. He has one already, winning in 2022. So I'm going to put my money on Austin Matthews for the value at plus 1,600.
Certainly not a bad way to go. He's definitely going to get a lot of points up there in Toronto. And by the way, if McDavid has a season like he has, like that we all expect him to, and it's just another, one in the books for him, we'll rename this episode next year. If Connor McDavid got hurt, here are our picks. I mean, do we? I mean, he's not in the Norris or Vezina or Calder conversation. And I didn't do Jack Adams Trophy because, it's really tough to predict who's going to be coach of the year before they've coached the game. Like you could, so like we left that one out on purpose. Forgot to mention that at the top of the show. So we've gone through all the major awards here. We got 2 more things left we want to do. We got some point total odds we want to discuss this year, and some player props to close out with. So without further ado, let's take a look at the point totals here. And so let's start with you. And you got 1 over and 1 under. Let's hear the over.
I'm going with the Devils, of course,
Sure.
over 104.5 points. Last season, they were right around 112, just 1 point behind the Hurricanes. I expect that to improve with the addition of Toffoli and a full season of Timo Meier. Jack Hughes taking another step, Nico Hischier, Luke Hughes in the picture. Dougie Hamilton going to be healthy after his surgery in the offseason. So I had to take the over on the Devils. I'm always looking for the value and stuff, but you know what? I'm going to take something that I think is going to, be legit. And I'm going to go with the Devils right there, over 104.5.
I almost put the Devils down as mine, but I wanted to try and be a little bit different than yours. But yeah, the logic is sound. There's every reason to think that, the only argument I can make against that is that they're expecting the Rangers and the Penguins to be better than they were last year. So maybe that top tightens up a little bit. But in the same breath, if we're expecting the Devils to win that division, they're going to have to clear that anyway. It's not like that division winner is not going to be at 105. That division winner is going to be closer to 110. So if we expect the Devils to be there, then they're going to hit that over.
And Carolina is going to be just as good too, if not better, right? So even if they're not close to 113, I still think they're going to break at least 104.5. My under was Chicago, and I know they have Bedard and everything, but under 71.5 points. I think they were. Let me double check the standings. I can't remember where they were at 59. So I don't see them being. I don't know how much better Connor Bedard is going to put them on his back. Obviously, you guys mentioned the goalie's not great. The team around is okay. So, they might not get to 71.5. Maybe they're somewhere around in the 60s. But I don't see them breaking the 71.5. Not just yet. We need a more around Connor Bedard to get to that point to make.
So let's do a little math here. So Connor Bedard is the reason why they put him at 71.5, despite the fact that they finished with 58, you said, last year. Going into last year, knowing that the Blackhawks were going to be piss poor, they're over under 66.5 going into the season. So their 5-point better expectation with Bedard going into the season, even though they were about 8 points under that. So it's, I think, a 13-point swing. I don't know if he's worth. Listen, is he going to score a lot of goals? Yeah. Is he going to be fun to watch? Is he going to lead Sports Center some nights? Sure. Is he going to help you win a fantasy hockey league this year? Maybe, probably. I just don't see Chicago win it. Like, I think Arizona is better than the Blackhawks, to be honest. I think they finish ahead of them in that division. So you're talking about a team that's going to finish 8th, 7th, if best case scenario. I don't see it there. So I agree.
I almost took the over on Arizona, just because I think that they're way better than they were last year. There were little spurts and hints of them, being a lot better, and I think they had a bad ending to their season last year. They finished 1-7-2 to end the year, finished with 70 points, but I think that they're way better than the Blackhawks, and the Blackhawks had a lot of work to do before they even get close to the talent that's on the Coyotes. I know Bedard is the top talent, but I feel like the Coyotes have a lot more, and they brought in, Sean Durzi. They got Cooley going to be in that. So, yeah, the Blackhawks, to me, like you said, 66 points from last year. I'd rather take that as where the Blackhawks will finish.
So Arizona finished, and I thought about the 76.5 too, but they finished with 70 last year. Their over-under was 64.5 going in. I thought the 6-point jump, even in that division where I'm a little more likely to see it, I liked it. I didn't like it enough. There was just enough reason to scare me off there as a 6-point jump, because it's like, all right, I'm banking. There is the side of it that I'm banking on the Coyotes to be a much improved. So, again, they have made improvements. I'm a big J.J. Moser guy as a last round pick for if you need a defenseman, because he's going to be on that top pairing and running that power play. Again, a team that's going to suck, but they're going to score. So Moser's a guy I'm looking at there too. So that's your over and under. Now Chris is going to go on two sides of a storied rivalry here for his over and under. You pick where you want to start.
Right. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna start by offending the entire Boston Bruins nation because might as well make them happy. I have them
can't help himself.
Can't help myself here. Just Ant's out here making friends with the Leafs nation. I'm out here, just reminding Bruin fans that this is not going to be it. I have them under 105. I know they had a 32 point season. Like, cool. We know that they're coming back down to earth. Just like the way gravity works is they're going to come down back to earth. And now without Bergeron on this team, like Brad Marchand is still okay. He's coming off, he had double hip surgery, I think a summer ago. So like he's not getting any younger. Poor David Pastrnak now has to deal with Pavel Zacha down the middle.
Zacha.
Pavel Zacha, I know. Like this team is not like you already know how I feel about Charlie McAvoy. I think Linus Ullmark, Jeremy Swayman are going to be fine, but they're going to be a victim of the team. They're just going to be a victim of the team not being very good. They're going to regress. Is this team was just they were elite in every category, defensively and offensively. I think defensively they're going to be fine, right? But they're going to struggle to score some goals some night. So this 100 is a playoff team, and I don't think they're a playoff team. So they must be under it. That means because they can't get over 100 points and miss the playoffs. That would be a really strong Atlantic and Metro, and I don't think that's going to happen here. So I'm going to take the under on Boston. My apologies in advance. I'm taking the over for Montreal because they're at 71.5. They're at the same number as Chicago. The only team worse right now, I think, last time I checked, was Anaheim. They're the only team with a lower point total. And I'm saying, okay, that's fine. Look, Montreal's not a very good team. I get that. And they were really bad last season. But this team suffered. Every player on their roster got hurt at some point. So now you have a healthy Cole Caulfield, Sean Monahan. You discovered that Raphael Harvey-Pinard can score goals. Kirby Dach is still there. Juraj Slafkovsky is healthy. Brendan Gallagher's hand is not broken, right? Mm-hmm. Jake Evans is there, however long Joel Armia can last. And then you got all those, defensemen who can just exist. You're telling me all of that coming together is worth 3 points different? Because Montreal had, if I'm not mistaken, was 68 points last season. So you're telling me all that together is a 3 point difference for oddsmaker? Come on. That's a lot of disrespect in one sitting. I get that they're going to be bad. This is not a playoff team, but you're telling me this is a team that's going to finish 29th in the NHL?
Last year they were estimated to be at 72.5. That was their over under going into the season last year. So
you're telling me, yeah, and they were, and they still got to 68.
Yeah.
And everybody was hurt. Quebec hospitals are full already, and they had to welcome the entire Montreal Canadiens roster basically into the infirmary afterwards. To the point that their team doctor now is finally taking his retirement, Dr. Mulder, because the man was getting up there in age. It probably took a toll on him as well, having to deal with every single guy coming in here and saying, "Hey, this is not even just I'm hurt. I need surgery now. This is broken. This is broken. This doesn't work. This hurts." So many guys were out for long-term injuries that never returned. This was an AHL team on the ice, and they put 68 points together. So you're telling me all this together is worth 3 measly points? No, I've already smashed the over on it. You can call it what it wants, but I've already smashed the over because there is, even if they're terrible, even if they are, this team is probably in the realms of 82 points, which is still not playoff worthy. It's not even close.
Nobody's saying they are, but 71.5 is low. I agree. I'm over. I would hit the over on Montreal for sure at 71.5, just because of the amount of injuries they dealt with last year. And Martin St. Louis is a good coach. So
yeah, he's great.
He gets his team to play.
There's only so much you can do with what you have, right? If you cover if you cover anything with shit, it's still terrible, right? You can cover chocolate with turd, it's still a turd. It doesn't matter. That's what he had to deal with. There were guys on that lineup I'd never heard of. I had to look for them.
I had a production teacher that used to say you can only polish a turd so much in terms of over editing and adding effects.
Yeah, it's still terrible. You're telling me that Montreal's on the same wavelength as Chicago? No. Come on.
Here's the other thing about Montreal. If you take that over, even late in the season, if you're sweating it out a little bit, St. Louis is the kind of coach where those guys are going to play their ass off through game 82. They're not going to go in the tank at game 77, 78. Or like, all right, I'm shot. If you've mathematically got a chance with Montreal at over 71.5 down the stretch, you're in it because of St. Louis.
There's a lot of young players on that team who still have to develop, that still got to do things. Like this is year probably 3 of the process, right? This is year 3 of the struggle. And by year 5, that's where you start to see this team is going to be, where they need to be. I think next year is when they take a better step and they get everything in order. Maybe Connor Hellebuck wants to come hang out in Montreal. He can have all the Belle Provence that he wants, the poutine that he wants. We'll show him all the great places for smoked meat. There's lots of things he can do downtown. We'll show him the nice little area. He can live in Brossard, by the arena, by the training facility. There's lots of great things for Connor Hellebuck. Maybe I'm just dreaming in color, but this team is getting there. But 71.5 is just a disgrace. I don't know who put this together.
Cole Caulfield has played 3 seasons and only 123 games. He only played in 46 games last year. In 2021, 2022, he had 23 goals in 67 games. He had 26 goals in 46 games. He was on a path. And if you get him 100% healthy, he's going to be that superstar in Montreal.
Like, they shut him down to say, hey, get the surgery. This team is going nowhere. Get it fixed. He could have finished the year. So you got it fixed towards the end of the year. Now he had the whole summer to recover. So a wonky shoulder is now it's now, in good structure. It is healthy. So he can go out there and just sling the puck into the net with an even better shoulder. So I don't know. When I saw this, I thought it was an error. I thought I saw 81. And then I cleaned my glasses and I said, no, that is exactly 71. And then I tried to understand what happened, because then I thought Montreal finished with 40 points last year. And then I said, no, they finished with 68. So the math just didn't make sense. So that's how we got here. I just couldn't believe it.
When you finish with 68 points and all those injuries, especially to your top star who was, getting ready to put a clinic on in the league, you got to take the over there for Montreal for sure.
Not the whole mortgage, but maybe a little bit of a reverse mortgage, kind of thing. Not the whole mortgage. Don't take out a new one, just maybe reverse mortgage a little bit.
So, and on your Boston pick, now I agree with everything you said. Step back, no Bergeron, all that stuff. 100 and if you think they're going to miss the playoffs, then they're not going to hit 100 points. They had 135 points last year, so we expect a regression. And there is going to be a regression, but a 35-point regression. And I understand we're not talking about going from 100 points to 70 points where you're a wild card team to a miserable team or anything like that. But that is a huge regression. So that's why I'm a little hesitant on that, because even if they drop down to 101, 102, that's still 28, 30 something point, so that's why I hesitate on that one. Now I got a few I'm going to run through quickly here. So let's start with the one over I like, which is the Kings at 105 points. They finished with 95.5 last year. Last year they were estimated at 95.5, and they finished with 104. So if you think they're 4.5 points better than they were last year, there you go. Now, and you look at that division of Vegas, I think won over 110, or Edmonton in the 109. They were up in that range. So I think LA is right in that range. And again, they have the Ducks and the Sharks to beat up on, which is my under pick. Now, Anthony went under with the Blackhawks at 71.5. I agree. Chris took the approach of 71.5 is too low. I got to go over on that. As the Sharks are the lowest team with 65.5, and I still think that's too high. They had 58 last year, and they were estimated going into the season at 73.5. And that was a year that they had Erik Karlsson win the Norris Trophy on the blue line and lead the team in scoring. They don't got Karlsson this year. So you mean to tell me that they finished with 58 with Karlsson not even they didn't have him after the deadline, through the end of the season. You think that they're going to be a 65.5 point team if you thought they were 70? I think this is under. I don't even know if they break 60 this year. You were talking about Montreal before. We're like, okay, they're in year 3 of the rebuild. As much as they would love to have a top 3 pick, that's not the goal anymore. They're okay with 5 to 10 because now we're in that phase where you're still acquiring young prospects, but you're not trying to be that bad. San Jose is still trying to be that bad. So
They also now employ Mike Hoffman, by the way. And as somebody who got to watch him on TV, holy, he is not the same player he once was.
Like, give me a reason to say that the Sharks are going to be in that above 65.5 and close to that 70-point range that we think Montreal is going to shatter, that Chicago is probably going to be just under. Give me a reason. I invite you to. I would like to. Give me a reason that I'm going to watch Sharks hockey this year, other than the fact that they're going to be one of the only things on by the time I can actually sit down and watch TV.
Maybe there's fun stuff to do around the arena.
I love that building. It's intimate. It's one of the older buildings in the league now, but I love going down there. It's about an hour 40 drive for me. I always go when the Rangers come to town, and I try and get there one or two other times. It's fun. Even if you just go say hi to SJ Sharkey, the mascot, he's cool.
There you go.
Hey, you're our sideline reporter out there in San Jose, so you know all the things that's going on with that team. I don't even know if they're going to be better than Anaheim.
No, they won't be better than Anaheim. Anaheim will be better than them.
Behind?
I think Anaheim is better than them, and not to say significantly better than them, but they're probably the two worst teams in the West this year. Or you don't throw Chicago and say those three. But I mean, it's San Jose. The way McDavid's in a tier by himself is tier 1. I think San Jose is in a tier by themselves at the bottom. And then you can start doing the Blackhawks and Coyotes and Ducks of the world.
I can't wait to be sweating a DFS slate with San Jose versus Anaheim at 10:30, watching it on the East Coast. I can't wait for that because maybe that game will help cure all the insomnia I've been suffering. I'll be able to tell the doctor, I said, you know what? I don't need any of that. I'm just going to watch San Jose and Anaheim play, and that should really knock me out.
Come on, Logan Couture. I need an assist. Come on. Two other overs I want to throw out there just because why not? Buffalo at 92.5. Last year they were estimated at 90. They were estimated at 78.5 and got 91. So basically there's saying that they're only going to be a 1.5 better than last year. I think the over is good there. And then Calgary at 94.5. Last year they were estimated at 103.5 and they finished with 93, but we all know that they were not happy with Sutter there. So I think, just from that standpoint alone, I think they can get to 95. I don't know if they're a playoff team, but I think they can hang around and be in the battle for the wild card down the stretch, which means you got to be in that mid 90 point range. So those are two I like there. Now, before we get out of here, we got a few player props we want to give out. I'm going to start with mine, and I don't want to step on your toes, but I kind of had to here. This was too good to not take. Tyler Toffoli over 70.5 points at plus 100. We talked about the Flames last year and with a curmudgeon head coach, with a guy who was trying to play a defensive system. He had 73 points in that situation. Now he's going to a place where points are going to be plentiful, goals, assists. He's going to just be, and he's going to be on the power play, on the top power play unit. There's every reason to think that he is going to shatter 70.5 this year. So, yeah, some people might think, oh, well, he's going to get lost in the mix because you got Meyer, you got Heishier, you got Hughes, you got all these other guys. Only so many guys can score, but hey, in hockey, you can get 2 assists on a goal. So, for me, Toffoli at 70.5, get on that now at even money. It's a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, I didn't want to take all the Devils bets because I know it was going to be too much. I'm glad you took one because a lot of people are going to be betting on them this season. I mean, we talked about it already in past episodes. I took Brady Tkachuk over 85.5 points. He had how many? He had 83 last season, and he's only on his way up. I'm trying to figure out what line. Who's he on the line with? Is he on with? I'm trying to remember. Who's his line?
He might be. He might play a little bit with
line,
Josh
right?
Norris. He was on that top line.
Giroux and Stützle too.
Yeah, Giroux and
now with Tarasenko in the mix too. So who knows?
Yeah, I think the other brother who gets lost in the mix now with Matthew Tkachuk being in Florida and what he did in the postseason. I think Brady over that. What was it I said? The 85.5. I think that's a good goal for him to set. He was 2 points behind. I think he could get closer to 90.
Listen, I as somebody who owns a lot of Brady Tkachuk shares in fantasy leagues, he's a guy I love to get when I can get him. I got no problem with that right there. I think and Ottawa's improved the offense around the top 6 this in the offseason last year. Bringing in Tarasenko. They got Kubalik as well. Shane Pinto, maybe he even slides up into that top 6 at some point if he gets a little bit better. So there's a lot of reasons to think that, Tkachuk's going to produce even more this year.
Right now they have him with Stützle and Giroux. I mean, you can't go wrong on that top line to get to that 85 points, 90 points.
And he's on the top power play too. So there you go. Chris, who do we have here for your player prop?
We're going to go with the over on Cole Caulfield's goal total. It's set at 32.5. I'm old enough to remember when this opened at 30.5. On underdogs, it was also at 31.5. So I think the market is starting to understand that when you score 26 goals in like 40 some odd games, that puts you on about a 40 plus goal pace for a year, barring injuries. Again, the Montreal Canadiens are healthy, and Cole Caulfield doesn't even need a healthy squad. He just needs Nick Suzuki to just wizardly move the puck around the ice, forehand, backhand, right onto Caulfield's stick. And he can score. So as long as Nick Suzuki is healthy and Cole Caulfield is on the ice, those two can just go out there, have fun. Montreal Canadiens' power play is abysmal, but it's, Cole Caulfield's going to get the opportunity to shoot the puck. So I don't understand why Cole Caulfield is this far behind. I don't know. Some of his point props are sitting at 70 points. I think that's a little rich. Just too much for me, just because I think Montreal as a team not very good. But Cole Caulfield scoring goals is like, that's something he's going to do. I have him in a ton of drafts. He's on a lot of draft boards that I look at. He's been shooting up a lot of draft boards as well. I think that 32.5 is low. I think he scores over 40 without breaking a sweat. It'd be cool if he could hit 45, but I think I'm starting to dream in color there. But between 40 and 45 is where I think he finishes. So the 32, maybe he clears that by I don't know, maybe end of January. Maybe he's got 35 by the end of January. And that sounds like a good time. And then I'm going with the over. It's only fair that I finish with Devin Levi, because since he's winning Rookie of the Year, he's winning the Vezina, right? Like, he's got to finish with over 23.5 wins, right? Like, I feel like this number is based on him not being the starter. And I don't understand how that doesn't happen. Like, either because the Buffalo Sabres, like, as a team, right? They're sitting at 92.5 points as a team, which means that they're flirting with making the playoffs. So is Devin Levi helping you get there or not? Where is this going? I feel like some markets are confused. They're like, oh, the Sabres as a team are going to be good, but Devin Levi's not going to be good. And I'm like, well, who's going to take over for him, right? Like, it's not Urho Pekka-Luukkonen, and it's not Eric Comrie. So I don't know how the Buffalo Sabres get to being a playoff contending team without Devin Levi. 23.5 wins is just like he's going to win games in overtime as well. So I don't know how they got to this number, and I feel like it's a little bit disrespectful to him.
I don't know if it's disrespect or as much as, maybe the book's just being a little behind because, NHL is not at the top of their priority. I mean, everything you said about Cole Caulfield makes sense. If 26 and 42, then how is he not going to have 6 more goals and almost double the season length than that? And
correct.
I saw you
again. Don't take out a new mortgage. Reverse mortgage a little bit, whatever you have. Right. That's what we're doing here.
And I saw you add Devon Levi as we were about to go to that segment, and my first thought is, that's fitting, that's appropriate. You got to have that.
I have a lot of Devin Levi. Again, if you are a Buffalo Sabres fan and you're looking to recruit, right, as a in the closet, I'll wear the jersey. I don't have a problem. I will gladly sport his jersey. So if you just want to send it my way, that's fine. I'll pick up. And probably now what. Probably a large for me would fit well. And nice. Again, I would like it in black with the saber head. That's the one that I want. Nothing wrong with the other ones that they have, but that's the one that I look at and I'm like, that's cool. I could also wear it in some of my Monday leagues, some of the Thursday leagues. We wear dark jerseys to start with anyways. So I could be the forward who wears the Devin Levi jersey, just living my best life, really.
I mean, if you're gonna be all in on Levi, I mean, there you go. I mean, you're gonna start wearing Levi's jeans now too, you're just going all the way through.
I might go all the way there. That's they're very comfortable. Levi jeans, they're they got lots of different cuts as well. So I'm excited about that. I'm just excited about things that are Levi this year. So I am heavily invested in him. I feel like I have become the president and CEO of the Devin Levi fan club.
if you want to have a nice picture for that fan club, you could stay with me. I'm not too far from the 49er Stadium, Levi Stadium. We'll get a picture of you with the Levi jersey standing like in front of the Levi Stadium. There you go. I mean,
there you go. Perfect. Just let me sleep on your yard outside. Like, it's not even cold there. Like, like sometimes people are like, "Oh, it's cold in the winter," and I'm like, "Stop it." I live north of Minnesota in February. Like, that's cold.
It does get down to like 30s overnight by me. So, and I have a dog run. So if you want, that's cool. You'll be protected. You don't have to worry about,
I feel like sleeping outside in San Jose is different than I would feel like sleeping
I'm in
outside
Santa Rosa. I'm in the North Bay. So I'm about it. San Jose's weather and my weather are not very different, but they're different. So,
You're right.
I'm not going to offer you. I didn't even offer you the guest room. I offered you the dog room. That's what you want. That's what you get. So
you're like trying to explain to me why the different types of high-end champagne are different, and I'm just listening to like that it's high-end champagne. That's all I heard.
Listen, I'm the same way with I used to think my wife was a wine snob when we lived in New York, and then when we moved to where we are now, I'm like, oh, I get it. Okay, like this is what wine's supposed to taste like. Now I can't break down stuff. I just know what I like and I don't like. That's
all I know is I put winter tires on my car in the winter, so that's cold.
Yeah, I do not. I mean,
so I'm good. I'll sleep wherever. Just give me a blanket and a sleeping bag. I'm good. My skin is ready. It's leather now. It's it's so cold here.
All right. Well, I'll make sure the dog is not out there that night, and you'll have it all to yourself. But
I can cuddle him. He'll keep me warm. Milo might not enjoy it, but I mean, look, we got to do what we got to do.
He's a 75-pound beefy boy, so he would love to cuddle with you.
Yes.
So listen, we've gone through all the awards. We've gone through some point totals, some player props. The previous episode, we went through all the divisional team futures. All the episodes before that, we did many, many mock drafts. I think we've gotten you ready for the season here on Bettor Hockey Now throughout the summer. We launched pretty much right after the Stanley Cup last year, and we've been doing this all off season. Now it's time to do it for real in the season. So we're going to be back. We're going to be coming out earlier in the week versus later in the week during the season. So stay tuned for that. Next time you're going to hear from us is going to be at the FSGA draft, hockey draft. We'll be covering that for you. We'll have it right for you here on Bettor Sports Network and Fantasy Alarm. Don't forget to go out and get that all-pro subscription, get the 7-day free trial, and you can get access to that NHL draft guide there. And listen, it's draft season here. We're just over a week away from the start of the season, so get your money's worth. Listen, try the free trial for this week. You're not gonna go and cancel the second the draft's over, because you're gonna see how helpful it is. But it's been a really fun off season here on Bettor Hockey Now on the Bettor Sports Network and Fantasy Alarm. The next time we talk to you will be the night before season, and then the next time we talk to you after that will be in the season here on Bettor Hockey Now and on Bettor Sports Network and Fantasy Alarm. For Christopher Merez and Anthony Rivera, I'm Adam Bernard. Talk to you real soon on BHN.
Bettor Hockey Now is on the Bettor Sports Network.